Hello everyone and welcome to this third and final video in this Fisherman's Retreat single barrel series. This is Bruichladdich Rhinns. Now what is Bruichladdich Rhinns, I hear you ask? Bruichladdich Rhinns is a very lightly peated style of Bruichladdich spirit, which they typically only allow you to purchase in private cask bottlings. So if we look at Bruichladdich spirit in order, we have the unpeated Bruichladdich spirit here. Bruichladdich Rhinns is just next to it. Then we have Port Charlotte, heavily peated. Then we have Lochindaal, which is almost like baby Octomore, and then we have Octomore. So Bruichladdich actually produce 5 spirits. 3 of them are available for commercial purchase in Bruichladdich, Port Charlotte and Octomore. And then Rhinns, R-H-I-N-N-S, and Lochindaal are only typically available through private cask purchase. And I'm unsure how much of Bruichladdich distillate year is dedicated to this style. I would imagine probably less than 15, maybe even 10% across both. But yeah, this is a slightly smoky, or it should be, not actually smelt it yet, Bruichladdich. It's a 10-year-old, distilled 2011, bottled 2022. It is, they've done this the wrong way around, it's bottled 51 of 512. If this will focus, you can see they've kind of put the numbers the wrong way around there. 50% ABV again, natural colour, non-chill filtered. This is quite interesting because we have a 3 series of Yulumba here, but this is a Yulumba, I believe it's pronounced Viognier cask. If I am pronouncing that wrong, I do apologise, I'm not a wine man. But Viognier is a grape variety which only exists, I think, in France and Croatia, and in France it's in the Rhone Valley. Don't know much about it outside of that, just from chats I've had with wine people. But here we have it in the glass. Classic kind of golden colour. We do have a little bit of peat on the nose. But mixed in with that wine, it's coming across as almost... I hate to use this phrase because it makes it sound bigger than it is, but it's the first thing that comes into my mind, and it makes it smell like a little bit like a baby Laphroaig sherry cask. We have these raisiny sweet notes, but then we've also got this, it is like tiny TCP element to it. You can feel the dryness, it's quite rubbery. Nice industrial quality to it. Makes a change from the Glenglassaugh and the Arran, which were started off quite light, moved into a nice kind of bitter vermouthy notes. Yeah, this thing smells like the pencil case I had when I was going through primary school. It's like wood shavings and rubbers, like erasers on top of pencils. There's a metallic quality to it, which just reminds me of ink. But stitched in between that are some rather nice, soft, fruity notes, which I wouldn't typically expect. Apricot, red apple. Even a little bit of pineapple. Might be searching for that, but I get something exotic. Let's taste, see what the magic is. That's such a heavier spirit. It reminds me of all those things that people mention when they talk about farmyard quality in a distillate. And I don't mean manure and things like that. There's a grassy quality to it, along with the chewiness and a very malted barley note. It is only a 10-year-old product and it is cask strength, so spirit is going to be playing a dominant role in the flavour. Barley grist, freshly cut grass, hay bales, the smell of them anyway, like, you know, smell is such an important part of taste, and it's all in my sort of olfactory senses now. The smell of like hay bales and a farmyard and a barn. And this grassy quality that really, really pushes through this Viognier cask. Apologies to any French people watching, that wasn't meant to be discriminatory in any way. The peat really takes a little bit of a step back. We are dealing with peat which has a very drying nature to it. a very light, ashy quality to it. The whole thing as a product reminds me a little bit of Glen Scotia Victoriana, but without that kind of fizz you get from Victoriana. Everyone who's tried that knows what I mean with that Victoriana fizz. You get that kind of boost from it. This moves into more drying. Like I'm searching for moisture in my mouth right now and I can't really find it. Very reminiscent of, not close to, but reminiscent of the Cavalan Vino Barrique, which to this day could still be the driest thing I've ever tried. Let's go for another one. Some other stuff going on with this. I feel like I saved the best to last with this one. All the fun stuff you love about Islay whiskey, peated Islay whiskey in particular, is kind of made very small with this whiskey, but it's very concentrated. So the ashiness, the dryness, the rubberiness, the pencil shaving oakiness, the woodiness to it. I think I've said woodiness twice. There's a slightly metallic note, which I can only really put down to the wine barrel, I'm assuming. And these really concentrated notes that almost move into the potency of like blue cheese. There's that kind of thing with it. Very challenging whiskey. Honestly, a very interesting whiskey. I feel kind of bad with these reviews because unless you live in England or have a point of going to the Fisherman's Retreat in Ramsbottom, I'm not sure if they have any of these left. But by all means, they do bottle some very interesting whiskies, and from the small amount of conversation I've had with people who work there, there's a lot of Bruichladdich. It's not quite a 9. It's very interesting. I think it still gets an 8.5. I don't know what these whiskies cost, which is quite an interesting point. I probably should have found that out. I would rather buy a bottle of Port Charlotte over this, because the Port Charlotte would also be a 70 centilitre bottle. But, it's a big but. This is more challenging than a Port Charlotte. And honestly, that blue cheese note is very, very intriguing. It makes me just want blue cheese and crackers and some sort of spicy jam to go with it. But overall, I think an 8.5. It's very interesting. It is complex. It's not very complex, but it has some stuff in it that I didn't think it would have. I've been lucky enough to try a couple of bottles of Rhinns distillate in the years, and this is the more interesting of all of them. But I'd give Port Charlotte 10 and 9 like all day because it's just that good, and it's not as good as Port Charlotte 10, but it's very interesting. But overall, an 8.5 out of 10 for the Bruichladdich Rhinns 10-year-old from the Fisherman's Retreat. Thank you again to Ray for lending me these bottles. You did not have to do that. Very kind of you. There's some nice samples coming your way from me as a result. But yes, I'll see you all next week for a very interesting blended whiskey. See you next week. Bye.